This week in the League of Legends, we've got the Masteries from patch 5.22 gone over in depth. Additionally, we have a bunch of new skins, both from this patch and upcoming on the PvE. And finally, the All-Star match and the voting involved therein. All this and more on the Spazzy Gaming Web Shop.
This is Water Elemental.
And this is Axis, and we are here today to talk about the League of Legends. And I'm going to make sure we talk a little bit about everyone's favorite mobile style battle game.
Before we dig into stuff, something that a lot of people have talked to me about, and a lot of people have emailed us about, is the way we did the preseason patch last week. And I have to agree that it was extremely long, and we really didn't talk about much of the changes. We just kind of read them off, and with that, I kind of agree that we need to do a new format for that. So we're going to try something probably the next 2 patches, 3 patches, depending, where we will take all the information for that patch, we will throw in a separate video, and we will talk about everything that happened in the patch, what we liked, what we disliked, in the main podcast, so we actually can discuss stuff, and all the information could be in a second thing. So we'll just kind of talk about the patch in one video, and then you can listen to the main podcast and know what we're talking about. And yeah, it's one of those things I was not happy with it, and a lot of people agree that it was not the best system for it.
Indeed, it's just a lot of information.
So we didn't get a chance to make fun of things like Callistier. Anyway, so the Masteries, they have really changed this season. We don't have, offensive, defensive, and utility. It is now Ferocity, Cunning, and Resolve. And the tree is essentially cut in half. There are not as many options per tree, but it encourages you to go into more than one.
It's the way the system works is you advance along the tiers in that you get 5 points, which advances you to tier 2, where you get to choose one of 2 options. Then you get to invest 5 points in the next one. Then you get to choose one of 2 options, 5 points in the next, and then one of 3 options. This one of 3 options is basically determinant of the way your character performs, and it actually displays in-game what you chose.
So what we're going to do is we are not going to go over the stat dumps in each of the main columns. We're going to actually go over the individual choices that really affect your character. So we're going to start with Ferocity, and the first item is going to be the Double-Edged Sword.
Double-Edged Sword, pretty simple. Same as it used to be, except a little bit pumped up. Melee, deal an additional 3% damage and take an additional 1.5% damage. Or range, deal an additional 2% and take an additional 2% damage. And Feast, killing a unit will restore 20 health, and it has a 20-second ICD. Again, both of these talents, sort of things we had access to early on. Feast was a lot stronger, but now it's sort of segmented and can be really good in the lane phase. I don't know, how do you feel about Feast?
I don't know, Feast seems to be just a general, I'm going to use this either jungling, or if I'm going to be melee character, I'm going to use this. For Double-Edged Sword, it's, this feels like, alright, am I going to be in lane? Double-Edged Sword. Oh, I'm going to be a jungler? Alright, I'm going to go Feast. It's definitely a obvious choice. There's no real if or that, whatever.
Next tier we have Bounty Hunter. You deal 1% increased damage for each unique enemy champion you kill. And Oppressor, you deal 2.5% increased damage to targets with impaired movement. This is a no-brainer, and it's really silly that it's so easy. I feel like Oppressor could have been maybe a little bit different, maybe increasing the intensity of your CC, maybe giving it some tenacity pierce, and then the Bounty Hunter could be the flat damage percentage increase. As it stands, you only get Oppressor if you're a support. And if you're investing in Ferocity as a support, you're doing something wrong.
See, I've been playing a lot of tanky like Maokai and stuff like that, where he has a lot of offensive power, and he also has a stun, a potential slow, as well as a knock-up, and his ultimate. So, like, Oppressor's decent on him, because he doesn't get any of the additional kills. He gets the... What is it? So does assists actually count towards Bounty Hunter?
No, it is only champions that you have killed.
All right, so yeah, so Oppressor's a little bit better in that situation, especially if I'm going to be more of a tanky support with offensive capabilities. And then finally, the final tier, we have Warlord's Bloodlust. Critical strikes heal for 15% of the damage dealt and grant you 20% attack speed for 4 seconds with a 2-second cooldown. Fervor of Battle. Your basic attacks and spells grant you a stack of Fervor for 5 seconds, max 10 stacks. Each stack of Fervor adds 1 to 8 bonus physical damage to your basic attack against champions based on your level. Finally, we have Deathfire's Touch. Your damage abilities cause enemy champions to take 6 plus 50% of your bonus attack damage and 20% of your ability power in magic damage over 3 seconds. Area of effect damage over time applies half damage for 1.5 seconds instead.
They nerfed the first one, the critical strike heal ability, because Tryndamere is out of control.
As well as Yasuo. And,
Now it only applies to champion crits, but still, it's bonkers, and I think this is really weird. I don't like this ability. Fervor of Battle, again, this is a very interesting ability.
It's a lot better on AD carries than it would be a melee character because they're able to build up those stacks a lot faster.
Indeed. I think the damage is too high, especially at max level, and it doesn't really give anything to casters. And then Deathfire Touch is fairly good.
But it's the only option for AD.
For casters, but it's also pretty good for AD as well. Honestly, I would have preferred to see something like Deathfire Touch, something like the Critical Strike option, and then one that's a blend of the two. Because as it stands, Deathfire Touch can be useful for both. It's not the best for AD, but it's still useful.
It's good for hybrids.
Yeah, I would have preferred to see, rather than 2 hybrid options and 1 pure AD option, a pure AP option, a pure AD option, and a hybrid option.
Right.
Because as it stands, there's 1 AP option, and it's not good.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'm AP. I guess I'm going to go this precise path.
Yeah, I feel like they could have added, just as a side note in these mastery trees, you get 1 of 2 options all the way down to the last one, and then 3. I feel like you could get 3 different of the stat dump options in each tier and be fine. Because as it stands, there's not a lot of choice.
Right. Well, you can split between the two, but there's really no reason. Yeah,
There's
it's like,
no
all right,
point.
I'm going to go first tier, increase my ability and spell power 3 ranks, and then 2 ranks into AD. It's okay.
Yeah, there's no reason to.
So we're moving on to Cunning. The first tier has Runic Affinity. Buff grants by jungle monsters last 15% longer, includes epic monsters. And then we have Secret Stash. Your potions, flasks, and elixirs last 10% longer. Additionally, your potions are replaced with biscuits to restore 20 health and 10 mana instantly upon consumption. Definitely both jungle specs. But
yeah, the thing I dislike is that with the new potions, the Secret Stash biscuit bonus only works with health pots now, which is kind of lame. I would have preferred to see maybe more incentive to the new potion items with this instead of just 10% longer, because with a lot of those, it basically means you get maybe 10 to 8 bonus health off of your potions and maybe 2 mana, and then the biscuit buff doesn't even matter. Again, it would be a little OP if you got 20 biscuit charges from Secret Stash, or like 10 of them, especially with the Hunter's Flask. But some incentive to the other potions would have been nice. And the Runic Affinity, pretty standard stuff, except now it doesn't include the buffs granted in Dominion, which is weird.
Second tier, we have Bandit. Gain 1 gold for each nearby minion killed by allied champions. Gain an additional 3 gold, or 10 if you're melee, when hitting an enemy champion with an attack or spell. Cannot occur more than once every 5 seconds. Second one is Dangerous Game. Champions, kills, and assists restore 5% of your missing health and mana.
I like Bandit, except that essentially you don't get the bonus gold if you get the CS. I would like Bandit a little bit better if it gave you an additional gold on a CS as well. And just whenever a minion died near you, you got 1 bonus CS or gold. I think that'd be really, really strong. And then you could take out the incremental gold from attacking, and that'd be cool. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Dangerous Game, pretty weak, to be honest. 5% is good, but health and mana, there are so many characters that don't use mana, and so often you're sort of forced into using the bounty ability, or the bandit ability, if you happen to be a non-mana character. Now, if this was like 5% of your health and mana, or 10 or like 7% of your health if you only have health, That would be fine with me.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters that do jungle, especially if you're going down this tree, you're going to be picking up one of these two that wouldn't use it. Rek'Sai is definitely a character.
Yeah, like
in the
I
meta.
play Trundle Jungle, and I go into this to get one of the last year talents, and both of these are almost completely useless to me.
Because you don't benefit from the
Bandit, you don't benefit in the jungle, and yeah, they only work when you go into lane phase, which can take up to 10 minutes.
Yep. And finally, the third tier, we have Storm Rider's Surge, dealing 30% of a champion's max health within 2 seconds, grant you 35% movement speed for 3 seconds. Thunderlord's Decree, your third attack or spell on an enemy champion shocks the area around them, dealing 10 damage per level plus 20% of bonus attack damage and 10% of your ability power as magic damage to enemies in an area. 30-second cooldown. And finally, we have Windspeaker's Blessing. Your heals and shields are 10% stronger. Additionally, your shields and heals increase your target's resistance by 15% for 3 seconds when using an ally other than yourself.
A lot of these abilities here I feel are really cool, but when you compare them to the Ferocity end tiers, they're not that good. I love the Assassin Getaway tool. That's probably my favorite one. Thunderlord's Decree, I think, is really hard to get going, and then it has a 30-second cooldown for literally 20% bonus.
I think Static Shiv has a faster cooldown if you kind of take on like a maximized movement.
Think of it this way. Thunderlord's Decree only builds up when you're attacking champions with hits or spells. And the mid-tier, the Battle Fervor that you get in Ferocity, builds up everywhere, and then you can just turn and shotgun someone with a bonus 80 damage that doesn't fall off.
Right.
And this Thunderlord's Decree is like 10% of your AP and 20% of bonus AD in an AoE on a 30-second cooldown, and you have to hit them 3 times. It's good for ranged, but if you want to use it on a melee character, it's over.
Yeah.
Windspeaker's Blessing.
Very good for supports, but it's way down the wrong tree. Yeah.
The heals and shields thing is cool. 10% stronger is nice, but I wish that it had, like, if I'm playing Trundle, for example, or if I'm playing like a Sejuani or a Vladimir, for example, a character that has some good internal healing, being able to just tank up real quick by using a heal ability on yourself is really neat. Because I want to have those increased heals and shields. I love that functionality of deciding to, I want to be a tanky cunning, but I don't know.
But you don't get the maximized value of it because you're not giving it to other players.
Exactly.
So Sona would be decent for it, but again,
it's a support ability when it could be a good self-healing character ability.
Yeah. And finally, Resolve. We have Explorer, 12% movement speed in Bush and River. And Tough Skin, you take 2 less damage from champion and monster basic attacks. Explorer, very good for ganks, very good for moving through the jungle. I find it probably the better of the two in this tier just because you're going to be moving through brushes the majority of the game. Even if you are in lane, you're still going to be...
I love Explorer. It's probably my favorite talent. Yeah. Tough Skin, pretty boring. 2 less damage from those is only really good in the early game. So I like it for junglers, but I feel like that's the only thing that it's good for.
I think it needs to scale.
Yeah.
Then you have, in the second tier, Insight. Your summoner spells have a 15% reduced cooldown. And Perseverance, 50% health regain increased to 200 when below 20% health.
Perseverance is incredible, and I love it a lot, and I use it on most of my builds. But I like the reduced summoner cooldown, especially with all the options for reducing summoner cooldowns that they have added in this patch. I just also wish that there was an option on that to reduce item cooldowns. That was one of my favorite things of the previous season, was going an active item build and really moving to reduce the cooldowns on my items.
And now that they're going towards this more support and item-heavy usability thing, that would have been great.
Indeed. But, again, very interesting choices. I like the dynamic of Resolve. There's a lot of interesting choices here. Grasp of the Undying in Resolve, for every 4 seconds of combat, your next basic attack against an enemy champion will steal 3% of your max health from them, and it is halved for ranged champions. Strength of Ages. Large monsters and siege minions that you or nearby allies kill will grant you 20 and 20 and 10% maximum health permanently, and after you reach the max bonus, further kills will grant you 100 health, just as a flat amount, not added to your max health. Bond of Stone will give you 4% damage reduction, and when you're a nearby ally, your damage reduction will jump to 8%, and 8% of the damage that they take is instead transferred to you, but it won't reduce you below 15% health. All of these, again, are really cool options. I just feel like the middle ability, the one that grants you maximum health, isn't as interesting compared to these other two. I absolutely love the life-stealing ability. I use this on Garen. I use this on some of my other tanky top laners, and I basically use it as sort of a way to brawl in the lane, because a lot of times with Garen, I've got to sort of skirmish a little bit and then back up, because I don't have any follow-up.
Right.
With this, the longer I stay in combat, the meaner I get. Because if I can just stay in combat long enough for this to build up, because like a lot of these other cool abilities I like, it's not only champion-centric. I just have to be in combat, which means if I hit a minion, wait a second, hit a minion, it's up. And I can make a quick trade in lane, and it's really, really cool, and nobody uses it because they don't understand it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Strength, I really like this one just because it gives you permanent stats. It's really good for characters that you're building a lot of HP for or use a lot of HP abilities for. Again, Vladimir's very good for this. You have someone like Maokai, a lot of tankier characters that you're going for tank build support. See this great with Leona. Anybody that is a Nautilus is another really good example because he scales off HP. So this is permanently giving you that HP bonuses and stuff like that.
Yeah, the problem that I see with Strength of Ages is you compare it to the other two, and I feel like it just falls behind. 300 health is pretty good, but mitigating 8% damage and taking 8% damage of your allies, actually being able to be that protective tank, or being able to pull 3% of your max health in damage and heal for that much every 4 seconds, like there's no comparison, I don't feel like.
Right, it's definitely on the roll because how often are you going to get that bonus heal off a support character that's usually sitting in the back like
well, if you're a support in the back, why do you need health?
Yeah, that's a good point. This tree isn't very good for more passive supports.
Most characters are going to take this to the mid tier, where the two good ones, where Resolve and the Summoner or Perseverance rather, and Summoner's Affinity is. But I just feel like the middle talent on each of these three trees needs to be looked at again.
Bond of Stone, though, I like the 4% damage reduction plus the 8%.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Like,
it's
I
like
love
actual mitigation tanking.
It's so good.
Let me protect you.
Yeah, you put it on a shield, and you don't even have to be in combat. You could just be in a bush, pop a shield, and they're taking reduced damage. You're like, hee hee hee.
You don't even have to pop a shield. It's passive, totally passive.
Well, no, it eats into the shield.
Well, actually, the funny thing is the damage that you take from that is actually true damage. You cannot mitigate it.
Is it?
Yes, I have used it on Leona many times. I pop my shield. Thankfully, it can't reduce you below 15%, but it is true damage that gets dealt to you, so you can't mitigate it.
Huh, that's that should actually be in the tooltip. It should be
in the tooltip, yes.
A lot of these tooltips definitely need more information, like can this stack with the stats and abilities in the game that, like the static shivs, anything that reduces cooldown reductions. So there needs to be kind of more clarification in a game where they've been wanting to add more clarification when needed.
I don't know. The one I think that needs the most work is Cunning, followed very quickly by Ferocity. Ferocity, I like all of the single point talents, but the 5-pointers, it's too night and day. It's obvious which one you should pick rather than making hard choices. And Cunning, I feel like their hard points, the single pointers, need a lot of work.
Yep.
And then Resolve, I actually love almost every single one of them except for Strength of Ages.
It's always that one to the far right that has the most interesting skills each season.
Well, yeah, utility is always... I guess the tanky tree from last season was my favorite, and now the tanky tree is my favorite again. Go figure, right?
Right.
But, yeah, I think Ferocity needs more options in their stat trees, less 4% attack speed, flat ability power, and more when you're in this specific situation, this happens. Like all the other trees are.
Yeah.
Most of them are you gain 3% movement speed out of combat. You can't relate that to AP or AD, or even support. That's just an interesting mechanic that you have to decide, based on what you're doing. That's interesting. There are some like that, and I don't want to talk about Masteries all day, but Ferocity needs changes, and Cunning needs changes.
Yeah.
IMO. Moving right on to skins.
We had a huge batch of skins that came out alongside of that huge patch, so we had to skip over it last week. But there is a total of 7 skins.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So we have the Void Illua, or however you pronounce her name.
Isleway?
Yeah. So she is literally a Japanese hentai monster. It's interesting, purple, voice modulation. It's a Void skin. She has more armor, which looks pretty cool. Looks like she ripped Vel'Koz apart and just like, I'm going to put this on my body.
Good enough.
We have Death Lord
Azir?
Azir. Yeah, I couldn't remember his name for a second. I was like, who is that guy?
He's weird.
So you have Azir. He has voice modulation again, just like Soraka and all the other undead skins. He looks really good. I love like the dark blue and silver color tones of him and his minions. Changes everything from his passive wall, or not wall, but tower, to everything like that. Gorgeous skin. I really want to pick it up for my Azir. I've been playing him a lot lately. Next, we have the next legendary skin. This is going to be Dragon Trainer Tristana, because she really had a bad one originally with Firefighter. So this skin, she replaces her cannon with a dragon and a lot of different interactions. Animations are really fun. Her interacting with this dragon and throwing him around, and like all of the spells like relating to anatomies of dragon. It's pretty cool.
Flames of Sulfuron, etc.
Yep.
This is the kind of skin that you actually might want a chroma pack on.
Yeah, definitely. This one's made for it. And it's chibi adorableness that everybody that plays Tristana loves.
An Elder Wood for Hecarim.
So this is a gorgeous looking skin. So
very different for Hecarim.
Yeah, he has like a wooden head, like he's just growing.
He got together with Enchantress.
Yeah, Enchantress and Maokai had a love child. His tail and like mane is like leaves that have the special new like tech they used on it. All of his swinging effects and ult is green. It looks gorgeous. The color scheme is like very natural and with a hint of metallic and metal and stuff like that. His basing animation grows like trees and stuff. It is, if you love nature, this is probably the best themed skin for it. And I'm definitely jealous, since I'm not a Hecarim player, to get a cool skin like that. Next up, we have a bunch of skins that are themed towards D&D and like mythical adventures and stuff like that, and it's kind of going back to ye old medieval times. So we have Gragas Castbreaker, which is
Praise the sun!
Yeah, he's essentially the bard or like cleric or something. He has the Solaire, it's Solaire on his chest, a special casque. Very pastel-looking armor sets. Not a lot of detail to them, but it's very vibrant. Interesting thing, it's doesn't have any special animations to it. None of these do. They're all 750.
It's weird. They should have had some special animations.
Next, we have Rise Whitebeard. This is probably the most drastic skin I've seen in the game. It doesn't fit any art style. It stands out so much. It's kind of jarring, in all honesty.
Yeah, it's very stark. I don't want to say they pulled a death and life character on us again here. She who will not be named. But, yeah, it's very unique. I thought they kind of went crazy with the Wizard Vigar skin, but this is a completely different level.
This is even a legendary, and you're just like, oh, who is that? And you're like, oh, that's Rise. Okay.
Whoops.
Varys Swiftbolt, though. This is a really gorgeous skin for Varys. He's supposed to be like the Rogue Ranger. He has a nice purple, kind of like Malzahar hood with some really cool looking bow, and when he springs up, the bow like splits into 3. And it's probably the best out of these kind of like skins.
Indeed. And the final one is Braum Lionheart. So we got some kind of Warcraft armor going. He's got a chain coif. He's got a big Ulduar looking shield, and yeah, even his Poro is knightly armored. So
I like this one. As a Braum player, like our choices were Dragon, which was like bright red and didn't fit his color scheme too much, and then he had Luchador, which it's a goofy skin, but this one really kind of suits my kind of like palette of colors for Braum.
A
And
paladin boy.
yeah, I'm a paladin boy. I really like it.
Golden boy.
It's a decent looking skin. I do have to admit, for $7.50, I'm definitely going to try to pick that up. And then we have our Wriggle Ward. It's just a baby version of Dragon Rider Tristana. Cute little ward. He pops out of an egg. Pretty neat. And then we have things themed towards the All-Star match. Teams Fire and Ice are returning, and we will get wards for each one of them. Fire and like ice, like themed little things on top of like a round circular base. I like the both effects.
I like the ice better.
Yeah.
Fire looks kind of crappy, actually.
It looks like they just threw one of the... Here, get all the characters that have like fire particle effects and just throw it on a stick. Urgh! But it looks good.
It's like Fire from Quake 2.
They're also bringing out icons for Team Fire and Team Ice. These are going to have the same effects that the icons had during the not LCS, but Earth, where if you get one of these icons and you kill an enemy, it will play a death animation. So if you're Team Fire, a giant pillar burns your body away, and if it's Team Ice, a giant ice pillar like freezes it for a bit and then goes away.
Hold up. Are you saying that those things aren't fireproof?
It's been a while since we referenced Brand.
He's relevant again.
So in other news, when it comes to the All-Star match, they're going to have it in California this year. Voting has just closed on who players want to play. Darius is still available for voting, even though I think he retired at the end of the LCS, right?
Well, maybe it's just a fun match. Maybe.
Yeah, which I don't mind, unless he's on contract until the All-Star match is over.
You must complete the training.
So yeah, you vote for your... allies you want, or not allies, but your players you want. You got an icon for it. When the actual event starts on the 30th, they are going to open up voting for a skin of player choice for either Nautilus, Diana, or Teemo. And it will be themed Fire or Ice. I'm guessing it's going to be the winning team. I want an ice skin for Nautilus. That'd be super
I don't
cool.
think we need more Fire and Ice skins. I'm so sick of them.
Yeah, I honestly, it's the most commonly used theme. It's not even used properly. We have so many champions that are themed over ice. I think we need more champions themed over fire, like Annie's parents or something.
Maybe another water character?
No, we have enough. I know when to draw my limits, that I'm never going to get the champion of my choice. But it's one of those things where I'm glad that they're opening up votes to it. It kind of sucks that it's so limited on which skin it is. They probably already have concepts for each one of them, and they're just going to add different particles.
Indeed. But that's really it for official news this week, guys. Again, we're running kind of long, so we're going to get in one question this week as opposed to the normal two. First question comes from Mr. 12. He says, for the season of 2016, what's your favorite new item, your favorite modification of that item, and your favorite marksman update? Sorry, I was waiting for Worlds to end. No worries, Mr. 12. We missed you anyway. Favorite new item for me is Death's Dance. I love that. My favorite modification to an item, I would say I like what they did to Boots of Lucidity. The summoner cooldown reduction on that is really neat. I love that. My favorite marksman update is Graves. He's a little too powerful right now, but I love the changes to it in theory.
For me, I gotta say I like the new potions. They're kind of
Master Yi fan?
Yeah.
Would you pass me that potion?
I like that they're trying to, make them more interesting than, all right, early game, get red, get blue. It's like, I could get normal potions, or I could invest my money early game into the recyclable ones, or I can go for the unique ones that do stuff in jungle or give me effects.
The corrupting potion's really cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. As far as new modifications, I love the new modifications to Sightstone. That makes it more useful, encourages more people to pick it up and use wards. And it's just, I really like the fact that it combines the standard support item with a Sightstone. Yeah, you're not going to get that added benefit of, say, whatever it was originally going to do.
Spooky ghosts.
But it opens up your inventory for more items associated, for supporting, that can do other things. So you're not always limited to mid-game. All right, I have a Sightstone, I have a second-tier support item, and I've got boots. It's like, all right, I got fully built up, upgraded Sightstone. It's going to give me all that effect, Plus, I'm going to be gaining enough gold to do this, saving money on wards. And my favorite marksman update, I honestly have to say Caitlyn. Just because they made her a little bit more combo heavy instead of just, I'm going to sit back and poke and not really get into the fray, because now it encourages nets more, it encourages more traps.
I'll like the Caitlyn update when people actually learn how to play her. Because I've been laning with Caitlyn's, and it hurts my feelings.
Yeah, they're not very good. I just Callista onto them like, spears!
Ooh.
Boost spears!
But that's it for questions this week, guys. We had to kind of rush through them, but we normally try to get 2 questions every week. If you have a question for us about the show, about the preseason, about the upcoming season, about the All-Star match, about any games coming out, about Battlefront, about Fallout 4, which I've been playing heavily.
Tetsuo Carnival 2 XD Remix, the new Japanese fighting game.
Please post them in the comment section below. Send it to our email at spasticgaming@gmail.com, or post them on our Facebook, Twitter, or website, all of which are linked in the information down below. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/spasticgaming. You can pitch into that if you want to see more interesting and diverse content from us, including exclusive features. I'm going home.
Like the Lurker. Like the video you snuck onto the channel.
Right. Enjoy that.
Watch it. It's very good. And you get to see Kiefer.
That's what I look like in real life. Spooky.
In his natural habitat.
This is Water Elemental. I'm sorry. This is Axis.
And this is Axis.
And Water Elemental.
And Axis.
I'm going to go download Battlefront. Excuse me. Copyright.